Hello, I'm Kendra, and I am your higher mind maverick. There are three things that I am excellent at: intuition, integration, and magic. That last one is the most hyped and least understood, which is why I'm leading my part of this shift event with this topic. So, intuition and integration are very education based. Magic is more experience based. And those are the two ways we learn in life. And so those are the two ways that I train people. Now, I happen to love micro training. So this is going to be kind of a Q&A style question answer based on all of my work, as well as things I've been asked over the years from my clients and my students. It breaks it up, it makes it easier to digest, and it keeps it kind of fun and playful. So after that, I'll talk about the types of practical magic that I train people in and how you can get a hold of me. So let's go. All right. My first question is, why do I do this? So I can live a more amazing life than I could with my identity and my reactions to this world. And originally, I did not want to digitally train people. I had responsibility-itis. I thought, strangers and Zoom and PayPal and because of COVID. But also because of COVID, that was the catalyst for this. The world was going crazy. I felt clear. And then I started seeing a bunch of Beckys who are, charging 4 and 5 figures to learn manifesting or law of attraction, or the big one, how to be witchy. And so if there's one thing I'm not great with, it's watching people pay for unknown disempowerment. And so that's what birthed this version of my work. Next question. What is magic? Well, we talked about the witchy thing, and I'll tell you, spoiler alert, magic is a soul practice. All that witchcraft stuff that you're seeing is an ego practice. Is the ego predictable? Yes, in the sense that the ego works some of the time. The ego is also incredibly unsustainable and flawed, whereas the soul and its alchemy or state change is the type of magic I'm talking about, and it works all of the time. Can you say more about alchemy? Why, I can. It is the language of the soul, the willingness to change and be changed. The ego likes the same, or it likes sampling different things but staying the same. And we've all had that chapter. We've all thought, aha, here's my big idea. I will, make a tiny little adjustment over here and call it radically different. That's normal, that's common, that's human. But the soul is going to recognize connection of inner and outer worlds. And the ego will brush things off as coincidence. So that's what I mean by alchemy. Here's one of my absolute favorite questions from over the years. Do you have to be special to do magic? No. How do I know? Because I have incredibly normal clients and students. This is not an exclusive thing. You didn't sign some sacred contract in this lifetime to be somebody who can do magic where other people can't. And this one I'll share from personal experience. You don't have to be psychic. In fact, when I was a professional clairvoyant, it made being in the soul space easier, but it made doing the work harder. Well, why? Because I didn't have the contrast to look at what I was doing and see pattern inside that. And it took me, as somebody who's like, well, this is just what you do. This is my second nature. It took my clients mirroring it back to me that they would say, this was my life before magic, and this is my life after magic. And so once COVID came and locked all of us down, including me, I had to look within and say, what is this thing that I'm doing, and take it to the next level so that I can on command. All right. How does magic work? My definition of it is intention plus will to create beyond the predictable. You switch, you shift, you go from being the master of being at the mercy of things to commanding the cause of things. You cause things, you play that role instead of the part where you react and respond to things. Now, the bullet points on that is through signs, symbols, and synchronicities, which are inherently passive. They're just things. And it's your soul, the high self, your energy, and your will. Those are active participants. So no, you don't need to be special. You need to be skilled. You need to train. It's that simple. And that is when I had my aha of, oh my outer life matches my inner legacy. And I've done it. And thank you, clients, for mirroring this back to me, because I seem to have forgotten that part of the fun. How do I know what to cause? All right, I have this one client, and she asks 2 questions in her practice. She says, who are you? And what do you want, to herself all the time. You cause what your soul yearns for, not your gimme, gimme, gimme ego stuff. That little game, it doesn't work. Here is the cheat code. It usually is a solution or a missing, and not prizes and fixes. Now we get to a what about. I do love the what about. What about when magic doesn't work? And does your soul not work? No. You are participating in causality. Or let's call it a few other things if you're still a little freaked out about the word magic. We're reframing it to, if you want to go to great wisdom, ancient wisdom with me, this is the magnum opus, the great work, hermeticism, awakening, thaumaturgy, which is Greek for wonder making. And I love that because it means I get to be a miracle worker. This is my university that I'm going to now. So you may be saying to yourself, hey, Kendra, I've tried magic. Either nothing happened, or what I got was likely going to happen anyway. So isn't it all just in your head? Isn't this just positive thinking or something like that? That is a great question. If I had $1 for every time I had a positive thought or put some of my energy into affirmations, or if I added up all the minutes of mirror work and all my, ritual writing, I would be living a total life of wealth and leisure in France, probably finding a cure for lactose intolerance so that I could eat my body weight in brie cheese. But that's also a valid ask. Here is the better question. What stops magic from working? Your ego. Every time. How magic doesn't work is, aside from the egomania or any sort of narcissism or obvious blocks like that, one of the ways it doesn't work is if you're not willing to fail. Or you only like lessons, but you don't like experience, the lab work, which is your, BFF, your best friend forever in this case. Also, anxiety and or depression. This is a mind game, and it truly is a game with the mind. If you are having disorder in the mental body, it won't work because you need to be able to neutralize your thinking and disappear the brain's activities. The behavior that doesn't work is being attached to the how or the result, because those are also egos. You're, instead of allowing and receiving the way this needs to go, you're up in there with your POV, your preference, and your perspectives. Nope. You do not pass go. You do not collect $200 for anybody who's a Monopoly board game lover like me. Next question. Okay, I'm starting to see it. Where do I start? Step one, you have to choose a ritual. A rite, which is an awakening custom, or a ceremony, which is your version of a sacred act, that you're willing to do repeatedly and consistently. Like playing the piano, it doesn't play itself, and you don't get good by thinking about it. Step two, you have to get into your soul. Like playing the piano. It's a type of concentration that is the opposite of thinking. It's going to be anti-thinking. I describe it as sort of a hypnotic state. My personal wonderland, if I'm being honest with you. And step three, you must become intimate with the thing you are co-creating or causing into the material realm and experience. Some great examples: healing, love, work, happiness. Just a few. And you must ponder on them until they become a vision that's clear. This isn't a big quickie idea. Again, solutions or missings are going to take deep looks, not rapid views. And you have to be able to language it. I yearn for love. So that what? So that what? Keep going. Go at least 3, 5, maybe even 7 rounds of that deep so that you can help yourself get ultra clear on it. I yearn for a better job. So that what? So that I'm less stressed about money. So that what? I'm in a peaceful environment and situation. So that what? More will become available to me when I'm in a state of calm instead of a state of stressed out. So that what? So that I get to know myself at that level of having more by being more and taking away the things that make me less. Okay, that checks. All right. The next question is, ready for actions? You have to do the flip side of that, so that what conversation. You have to write and speak what scares you about having this. I call it clear the fear. Here's an example. And I'll bring this up more than once. My love life. The reason I hadn't until recently done magic around my love life is because I had not cleared the fear. The whole reason that I was just playing around with, let me meet somebody, let me have a good love life, whatever. What am I afraid of? Well, if I had this, I would have to address that I have never experienced it before. Great. So that what? I would have to do some inner work and be okay with not knowing how this is going to go. So that what? I'd have to address my vulnerability. So that what? I'd have to do some healing around all the times that it wasn't love. So that what? I'd have to forgive myself for the learning curve that I've had around romance. Okay. So once you feel like, oh, that last exhale of, all right, good news, bad news, I'm totally telling myself the foundation of truth. Get ready. People ask me, here's a great question, can I do bad magic or can I get bad results? There is no bad at the soul level. It's, the soul isn't duality driven like the ego. Now, can you mess up? Your ego will suffer, but your soul may learn something critical. That's the fate part of you. And magic is for the resilient, strong, stamina part of you. My example, my love life. I messed up on one of my rituals. I put a condition on it. And so what arrived met that condition that I said, accept this, or only this way, which goes back to being attached to the how or the result. Now, that's not bad. The experience was undesirable. However, it also fortified how I could go back to the drawing board and do it right and attract in and call in and invoke and command exactly what I truly yearned for. All right. The best part of magic is it pulls you close to yourself. And it yanks you out of that programmed and conditioned character that your identity is. You're not who you think you are is a big phrase in the great work. Your soul will discover capital N nature, God, life, the cosmos, creation, love frequency experiences instead of just flashes. Instead of tiny little blips, you will start to open from a crack in the door to a frameway to walk through. It is what I consider the healing of your world. How can I get to that hypnotic state and exit my thoughts and find my soul? Step 1, let go of time. That is an ego tool. Find your escape from that construct. Here are my ways. And each one of them deals with one of the senses because, as I said, this is experience-based instead of just education-based. If you are a visual type, I enjoy the escape gaze of softly staring at something to quiet the brain. I happen to be very strong as far as audio. Theta music, binaural beats, solfegium frequencies, especially when I'm trying to sleep. If I want to create and cause and do magic while I'm in my sleep, this is my entrance and access point to that version of myself. If you're tactile, take a ritual bath or something similar. Meditate on the sensation of water touching you to soothe that. Smell. I am the queen. I am the queen of oils and self-anointing and perfumes to whisk me away. And lastly, I will make a ritual tea, if you want to do taste, to get receptive and merge with my soul. The next question, how do I know it's working? You're already always causing in your nature. You are making it intermittent with the ego, which is blocking your awareness. So intermittent awareness plus intermittent practice is going to equal intermittent results. I know you've probably had something that has been unbelievable to the ego, that you probably had a hand in causing beyond the predictable. And that fate part of you just doesn't want to believe it because it wants to brush it off. Meanwhile, the part of you that is the soul is going, I know there's more to this. How people mess this up. I do love this question when my clients and students go, so how do other people blow it? I'm not going to blow it. No, all of us. You can't be the sender only. Most people get frustrated with this, aren't a receptor in their beginning practice. You have a wall, you have too much will or just will alone. Think of it as chewing your food, but then never bringing it into the stomach with swallowing. Or ocean waves that hit the shore, but never finish that bounce back. You have to marry the flow. You have to close the loop. You have to let the macrocosm respond to your attempt to create a response. Play that game of catch. Here are my answers to What does getting in the way look like? Not trusting yourself, not having faith and certainty that this is available to you, that you can do this. Maybe not your first, second, or third try, but what have you ever done on your first try without training? Impatience. My superpower. Impatience has gotten my ego a lot of what it wants. It has never served me in magic. Being afraid of the change, being afraid to go from being who you think you are to becoming something new. That's huge. Being afraid of the change of what's going to be different about your new reality. Being the version of you that's the know-it-all. You have to stay in wonder and curiosity. Being tired from being a have-not. Unwillingness to commit to training yourself for this. Ignoring your practice. Staying attached, which I told you was a no-no, and I really blew it in my last romance because of it. And refusing to dream. Now, it doesn't mean that you're stubborn about it. It's that you just won't surrender to dreaming. What does being out of the way of this look like? Again, here's my list. Letting go of that nice boy, good girl act. You can't start moralizing this. Making that clearing and space where you do feel empty and renewed. And I believe each of those have a very personal version of that. So yours isn't going to match someone else's, which is why somebody can go into that beautiful hypnotic meditation mind when they're rock climbing, and I don't get that out of it. I get very stressed out by it. So it's nuanced. It matches your you-ness. What it also looks like to being out of the way, forgiving yourself in advance for messing up. You know, you're gonna get some bruises trying something new that is a practice that you're not good at just yet. It's not gonna kill you, and it probably won't cost you money. So those are my two things to calm down the fear part of the brain again. It looks like having the tenacity to keep going with this. It's embracing your mistakes. It's refusing to be fragile. You know, this pesky ego that is so delicate and so easily offended. It looks like 0% of your trauma archetypes in here. You don't relapse or default into the fight in you, the flight in you, the freeze in you, or that, you know, pleasing, soothing, fawning thing. And it looks like using your imagination as your new reality making tool. Just like I use a pencil to write with, I use my imagination to make my reality real. Imagination is a soul act. It is spiritual. Fantasy is an ego act, and it's very dramatic. How do I sustain my magic? Okay, now we're getting to some of the fun stuff. First, I teach and train people, ask, how did I questions to yourself in the past tense, even though it hasn't happened yet. That's why I said you have to let go of time. We're not making this, we're just leaving the whole construct together. We're uncreating the awareness and dependency on time. When you do this, it stuns the ego into character or passenger or witness to your soul instead of this is me, this is myself. And it gets on board with this new reality. It accepts you're going to transform and transform something through alchemy. You'll do an inner change, you'll produce outer change. Here's an example. How did I get that new job? How did I get that new job? Aside from my earthly actions, I surrendered that it couldn't be any better than this. I gave up the thinking. This is a big one. I gave up the thinking that this is the place I want to be for the rest of my career. I opened to the idea that somewhere else has fun people to work with, others who know things and are great at their job versus me being number one at the bottom again. Things like that. So you answer your how did I, even though I hadn't gotten the new job yet. You have to get that imagination percolating because that's what it does. All right, so those are the questions and answers. Let's move into what I've been doing for the past 5 years since COVID. How have I been training people? I have 3 types of practical magic. It's 3 types of nature and their natures, which is the way that they all hold order. I teach and train in elemental magic, personal magic, and cosmic magic. Elemental magic is using lowercase n, nature. It always has order. It's very representational, meaning there's already a meaning inside the elements. You don't necessarily have to come up with one. Water, fire, earth, and air. What does water mean? It means washing away and cleansing. I don't have to make that up. I don't have to get creative. This is where I start everybody so that it's doing more of the work for you and you're getting used to it. Fire. Fire transforms things. Its state changes. You take raw food, it becomes cooked. Or why I love alchemy so much is my primary job is being a jeweler. We take a bunch of different metals and we use fire to bring them together in a new recipe called gold, where I can't tell, just like all the ingredients, and you bake a cake. You can't bite into cake and say, I taste eggs, then sugar. No, it has gone through the oven, also heat and fire, to coagulate into a new thing. People love working with air because it's movement. People love working with earth because it's not movement. This is planted. So those are the elemental magics that I teach and train. Personal magic is the nature of yourself, and it's very relative. These I teach with sound and movement. You are going to use who you are and what you got to get that going, that blending, that surrendering and marrying the flows, whether it's your particular voice or your particular body and your particular action with either of those back to yourself. So that's the next level as far as letting go of how much is the thing I'm borrowing doing it for me and how much do I have to create relationship with it. And lastly, cosmic magic, which is the nature of the universe and is the most symbolic and the most abstract. This is where you really have to make it mean something. So what do you do once you've figured all this, as far as, all right, I'm familiar with these now, then what? Well, for 14 days, I want you to pick one of those elements. This is our little exercise that we're doing. Obviously, you are more than welcome to reach out to me and tell me how it went after 14 days. But for 14 days, you're going to repeatedly and consistently pick an element and build your own ritual around it. One of my least favorite questions is, am I doing it right? Well, you can't do it wrong because it's you with your soul. And so if you want to make this up because magic is an art, then you've made it up the way that works for you because it's your way and it's your preference and you thought of it for you and yourself. So, when people go, oh, I must have done something wrong. I must not, I don't have the right colored candle or didn't. No, complete misguided and false thinking. So write down any responses that surprise you. You have to have some chill around this. You can't get all excited and anticipatory, big word there. A watched pot never boils. And I love that expression because you want to observe and receive and not stare and repel and then denounce it as not working. Then you want to make up what this selection means for you. You want to assign meaning to your ritual because it needs its function, its purpose, its story. It can't be soulless and dead. Nature, which has magic, and magic, which is a nature, detests a vacuum. So don't go inviting chaos in unless you're ready to, sniff around and find out. I cover that in my program. And so my example of making something mean something is I pick a symbol, a sign, or a synchronicity. And in my case, all three. And it's been mine ever since I was a little kid. Dimes, the American coin for 10 cents or 1/10 of a dollar. That is my litmus test of it's working. If I am causing something and I will randomly come across or find without even trying to look for it, just almost being drawn accidentally, look down and I see a dime, then I know that I'm playing with time. So this was my little game as a kid, find a dime, play with time. And it kept it fun. It made it the game for me. Other people will do other things. Right now, angel numbers, master numbers, things like that are very comfortable for many people. Others, it's when I find a feather, I know that I'm getting warmer on whatever I'm causing. And you have to know that this will yield fruit. Like I said, belief is a rehearsed thought, which can be false. So that means it can come from the ego. Knowing that this will yield fruit comes from your soul's relationship to the truth of the matter and the nature of alchemy. So what else can I share with you as far as these? This is just such fun for me, and I want it to be fun for you. I want to see people break as free as I did. You don't need one more influencer or marketer yapping about Carl Jung and working with your subconscious. That's an ego construct, quite honestly. You're playing around with your thoughts when I told you this was an anti-thinking practice. So that said, who was I before I mastered my magic? Took a lot of ego death to say this with a smile and a little bit of a laugh. I was living in a flawless hell. Chef's kiss to that architecture. I was carrying unbearable amounts of pain while trying to lean on and live into my overachiever. Like, this is going to fix it. She's got this. She's just going to force the result that needs to happen instead of the power of transforming it and myself. So who am I after? I can say this one with 100% integrity and authenticity. I am living the life of my dreams. I have no bucket list. I don't watch dreams that haven't been checked off some list. That's why it's the life of my dreams, is because they get completed. And I am just warming up. So, who will you be? Magic kills the accidental victim in us, and it births the hero to your story. And what that looks like for me is I love being my own fairy godmother. So if you want to stop hiding from yourself, let's go. Like I'm here to do this with you. If you're over your losing phase or you're done with your little rebellion era, clearly I had my own. I just talked about it. You're ready to quit assigning fault to yourself or others or fate. Let's connect. Go ahead and get on my clarity call so that you can see if this is gonna be something that you will commit to, that you will stay repeating and consistent with. Or get on my list. Every month I have a $79 Master Your Magic mixer, and you can see what your A game might look like, because that's a great way to dabble, to get your toes wet without cutting corners on what this is. We do it together. Thanks so much. I'm looking forward to hearing from you.